Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCGplayer affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. So today's deck tech is going to be a little different than previous deck techs. I'm always listening to your feedback, and I'm trying to make adjustments to make this channel as best as it can be whenever I can. And one of those areas of feedback was about deck techs. So upon listening to initial feedback, I want to try something new out with the Let's Brew style deck tech. On Let's Brew style deck techs, it's going to be more of a conversational episode. Instead of going through every single card in the deck, I'm going to highlight specific cards that illustrate what the deck wants to do. This lets me go deeper into important cards without making the episode an hour or so long if I went through every single card in the deck in this way. So hopefully these Let's Brew style deck techs give you more insight into my thought process when I was brewing this deck. Again, this is just a first attempt on this kind of an episode, and there's no way that I'm going to get it perfect on the first try. So after you finish this episode, please check out the survey link in the description below where you can give me feedback on this new style of episode. I can't wait to hear from you, and thank you for your feedback in advance. And also a huge thank you to my patrons. This is going to be a Patreon selected episode. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode and see which commander they selected. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So, on today's episode, I've got a brand new deck tech for you. Wait, do you hear that? Oh no, it's the Lurgoyf. Hans, run! I know that was lame. Anyways, if you don't know the card Lurgoyf, it has the text Hans, run. And for the longest time, players like me had no idea who Hans was. And yeah, now we found out. It is Hans Eriksson. So, on today's episode, I've got a deck tech for you. Let's brew with Hans Eriksson. So, Hans Eriksson is a 1/4 human scout that costs 2 red-green. It says, whenever Hans Eriksson attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking, defending player or planeswalker they control. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. Whenever you put a creature card onto the battlefield this way, it fights Hans Eriksson. And the flavor text on this is actually very fitting. Nothing could ruin such a fine day, Sephi, except for the Lurgoyf, apparently. Anyways, so this is a really unique commander, kind of with that push and pull. It gives you a benefit, a huge benefit actually, by helping you either get a card off the top for free, if it's not a creature card, or if it is a creature card, it goes onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking, basically whatever you're attacking. And anyways, but when that happens, it fights Hans. So, two things have to happen with this. You're going to want Hans to survive not only this, but also combat, because Hans has to attack to actually get you this trigger. And then also you kind of want that creature to also survive as well, depending on what kind of creature it is. And maybe it's just one that you want an ETB out of, that if Hans kills it, Hans has 1 power, so there aren't going to be too many creatures that Hans kills, but there are plenty of creatures out there that can kill Hans. So there are a couple of things that we need to consider with this kind of a commander. First off, what kind of creatures we want out of this deck. Again, we want ones that probably have some ETBs or, or just really powerful creatures that when they come in, they can just, make a really big impact and take out our opponents. We're going to want to run a lot of creatures in this deck, but we also want to run a lot of ways to protect Hans, because Hans is going to be our main value engine in the deck. Again, getting us things for free off the top of our library, so that's something to consider. We need to make sure that we can protect Hans not only in combat, but also from our own creatures that are going to be coming in. So first up, some protection spells that I want to highlight are Withstand Death, Regeneration, and Magebane Armor. Just a couple examples of protection spells that we can use in this kind of a deck. Withstand Death is going to give target creature indestructible until end of turn, so yeah, that's going to protect Hans not only in combat, but also from that creature that might come in and fight him. Regeneration is an aura. Pay a green, regenerate enchanted creatures. This is a repeatable effect that can really keep Hans around for longer. Again, the amount of value that Hans can generate, it's going to be worth paying that green to keep Hans around plenty of times. Magebane Armor is one that can really help us out, though. It gives equipped creature +2/+4 and loses flying, so yeah, apparently Hans can't fly anymore. That's no big deal. And prevent all non-combat damage to be dealt to equipped creature. That's the key part right there. So basically, that +2/+4 can be big. Again, that makes Hans into, a 3/8. So he's usually going to be able to survive when attacking an opponent most of the time. And then also, yeah, can prevent all non-combat damage to be dealt to equipped creature. That prevents that fighting damage. So again, that creature that comes in isn't going to be able to kill Hans, which is fantastic. Now, these are all great, but I'd have to say that the Golden Pig actually comes in our protection category as well. And the Golden Pig for this deck is going to be, well, it's the number 1 card ever, 99, and that card is Anara Volvid Familiar. Hope I said that correctly. A 4/4 wolf beast that costs 3 and a green. It says as long as it's your turn, commanders you control have indestructible. So so Hans being indestructible during our turn is a huge thing. Again, being able to say, okay, Hans, you're protected not only in combat when you're swinging at an opponent, but also when that creature comes into play, that's huge. Again, so it doesn't give Hans indestructible on our opponent's turns, but the main turn that we want Hans indestructible is on our turn. So yeah, this is definitely a fantastic card in this deck where we can get this out. Hans is going to be protected, and yeah, it's gonna really help this deck churn and help protect Hans, which again is our value engine. But let's move on to some ways to kind of see maybe what's on top of our library before we do that attack, to see if maybe Hans is going to survive it, if maybe it's just a card that we're going to draw and we don't have to worry about what's coming in. So cards like Dryad Greenseeker and Rada Heart of Keld can really help us out. Dryad Greenseeker can tap to look at the top card of our library. If it's a land card, we can reveal and put into our hand. So this can actually help us out in multiple ways. First of all, it can get rid of a potential dead draw off the top. So we tap it, there's a land on top, we can get rid of that, put it into our hand. Again, that's card advantage right there, basically drawing a card. And then that kind of opens up maybe a creature that might be on top for Hans, so that Hans can get that out for free. Or, if it is a creature that is revealed, we can say, okay, I know exactly what creature that is. Now I know kind of how to use that, through combat. Am I going to swing with Hans and that's going to be okay? Again, there are some times that we probably will lose Hans through combat or through a creature coming in fighting, and we just kind of have to make, that kind of assessment. Is this a good trade? Rada Heart of Keld is another one that can help us out kind of permanently, because it says, as long as it's your turn, Rada, Heart of Keld has first strike, but you may look at the top card of your library anytime you may play lands from the top of your library. This is the important part, basically. So basically, Rada says, okay, whenever you want to look at the top card of your library, you can. So you always are going to be able to know, okay, that's essentially going to be either, a land or a creature. If it's a creature, I know if it can fight Hans and survive or whatnot. And then also, yeah, again, you can play lands from the top of your library. That's huge. Being able to get lands off the top of your library, get them into play, that's, basically a discard advantage. And then basically kind of frees up if that's going to be a creature on top, and then it's going to be a creature, you can get that into play and get some extra value out of it. Also, Rada can pump herself to be huge. So yeah, a big threat, a way to get things off the top. And yeah, just basically card advantage too. Rada is fantastic in this kind of a deck. Let's talk about other ways to manipulate the top card of our library, though, with Munvali Beast Tracker. I can never get that one right. Hotao, Honored Physician, and Crystal Ball. Munvali Beast Tracker has, when it enters the battlefield, search your library for a creature card with Death Touch, Hexproof, Reach, or Trample and reveal it. Shuffle your library and put the card on top of it. So this is basically a creature tutor. There's plenty of great creatures that we have in this deck that have one of those keywords. So it essentially gets that creature, puts it on top, and then, yeah, we can basically just say, okay, I'm going to get a lot of value out of Hans when I swing with Hans the next time, because I know exactly what that's going to be. Huatao, Honor Physician, has tap, put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library, activate this ability only during your turn before attackers are declared. That's probably when we're going to want to do it anyways. Again, if we've got a creature in our graveyard before attacks, we can essentially say, okay, now that creature goes on top, I know exactly what I'm going to get. Again, if it's one of our big haymakers, that can come in really huge, swinging with Hans and getting something big out. Even something as simple as Crystal Ball can really help out in this kind of a deck. It's an artifact for 3. It has pay 1 and tap to scry 2. Yeah, just being able to manipulate the top card of our library if we want to ditch a couple things off the top, if we want to switch the order, whatever we want to do to know exactly what's going to be on top when we swing with Hans, that's huge. Again, top of the library manipulation is big for a deck like this, not only for knowing, but also for, being able to set the top of our library. Explorer Scope is a ramp piece that can actually help us do this as well. It says whenever a equipped creature attacks, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. So yeah, this is basically a ramp spell. It does require to be equipped to a creature and attacking, but again, we're going to be wanting to do that a lot with this kind of a deck. And it basically says, you know what? Oh, you got a land on top. Okay, instead of that being a dead, draw with Hans or a dead, card with Hans, basically, we're going to put that into play, and then maybe the next card will be better for you, and you can get it out for free with Hans or put it into your hand. Raging Raptors is another way that we can ramp it, kind of another way to uniquely ramp with this kind of a deck. A 2/3 dinosaur with Enrage. When it enters the battlefield, when it's dealt damage, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. So if we get this off the top, comes into play, fights Hans, that's actually going to be good. It's not going to kill Raging Raptors, and also, again, we get that instant trigger where Raging Raptors is dealt damage, so we get a basic land basically for free because of this creature coming into play. And again, we can just use it as a good blocker, or we just keep swinging with it and hope our opponents blocks to get even more lands out of it. Next up, though, let's talk about kind of the heavy hitters in this deck. what we're really hoping to hit off the top kind of once we're set up. Again, once we've got Hans protected, once we've got, ourselves set up, what do we want to hit off the top to really make a big impact? The first one that comes to mind is actually a newer card with Kodama the East Tree, a 6/6 with reach. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, if it wasn't put onto the battlefield this ability, you may put a permanent card with equal or lesser converted mana cost from the top of your hand, from your hand onto the battlefield. This one is just an incredibly impactful card. Again, you swing with Hans, you get a creature into play, you basically, this triggers, you get another creature from your hand into play. You can just get an absurd amount of value out of this. Again, it has to have an equal or lesser converted mana cost, but yeah, it can give you land advantage, it can give you creature advantage, it can give you a ton of benefits just for being in play. Atali Primal Storm is another one that's kind of like a better version of Hans, essentially a 6/6. Whenever it attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana cost. Yeah, this is basically, okay, not only do you get the top card of your library for free, you get your opponents as well, and it's not just creatures, it's whatever's on top. So again, it is a cast. You're not getting lands, I believe, that would have to say play, but you do get whatever's off the top. As long as it's not land, you get an incredible amount of value. You can beat your opponents with their own things. That's always fun. Enray's Forerunners is another one that can be a huge hit, especially late in the game. 7/7 Vigilance, Trample, Haste, lots of things. When it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain Vigilance and Trample until end of turn. Now, the Vigilance isn't going to really help you, essentially, when Hans has already attacked and your creatures have already attacked if you're hitting this off the top, but giving all your creatures +2/+2 and trample can be absolutely huge for a deck like this. Again, once you get these big creatures in play, this can be kind of the finishing swing. It can really help you out with that. Some draw spells can also help you in similar ways. Garruk's Uprising enters the battlefield. When Garruk's Uprising enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So this can draw you a card when it comes into play. Also, whenever any of those big creatures come into play, and you've got plenty of those in this kind of a deck, then also it just gives your creatures trample on top of that, so it helps you get that damage through. Return the Wild Speaker can be a fantastic draw spell or finisher as well. Choose one. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Or non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. Most of the creatures in this deck are non-human, so you can draw a lot of cards with, based on the power of one of your non-humans, or you can make all your non-humans bigger until end of turn. Again, this doesn't give grant trample, but you have other things that give trample as well, and this is at instant speed, so you can just use it as a combat trick, essentially. Now, when it comes to reasonable upgrades, there are a lot of great options for Hans, but some ones that I really want to highlight are, of course, Wayfarer's Bauble, Corsair Crew Fix, Vizier of the Menagerie, Vigor, Darksteel Plate, and Hammer of Nazan. In order to do that for this kind of a deck, my recommendation for cards to take out are going to be Grow from the Ashes, Call of the Wild, Once in Future, Mending Touch, Seedling Charm, A Quarter Shield. They're not bad cards, just that the upgrades provide you a little more value, a lot more value in some cases. Again, I think Hans Eriksson is a really interesting and unique commander. It gives you that interesting push and pull of a commander where it gives you that benefit, but you kind of need to be set up to get that entire benefit out of it. Or, you can just swing with Hans, and then Hans might just get killed by your own creature. You still get value out of it, but you're going to have to keep recasting Hans and getting Hans to attack and so on and so forth. So it is that interesting push and pull, again, that I like with commanders that give you a benefit, but at a potential cost. Again, just a quick reminder, please check out that survey link in the description. This is my first attempt at this new style of episode, and I'd love to hear your feedback. So whether you liked it or didn't like it, please let me know in that quick survey, and thank you in advance. And one more thing, if you're looking to play this deck, consider joining the amazing Play EDH Discord. Play EDH is a fantastic way to play Commander by webcam. I'm going to be including their Discord invite link in the description below. The original deck list has already been certified for Battlecruiser, and the upgraded version is certified for low power. So if you want to pick it up and play it as is, you can. And be sure to read their welcome information for more details. But yeah, I had a great time brewing with Hans Eriksson, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. So let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. What do you think? Maybe what card should I have highlighted from Hans that I didn't highlight? What reasonable upgrades would you consider for this kind of a deck? And yeah, would you take the deck in a different direction? Would you make changes in a different way? So yeah, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, thanks again and have a good one.